Wood has gotten really expensive recently. It's not your imagination. Here's a chart of lumber prices over the last year. There was a crazy spike last spring and everybody freaked out, but then prices dropped and everybody calmed down. But it's a new year and here we go again. Lumber prices are exploding just like they did last year. But hold on, let's zoom out and take a longer view. This is lumber prices for the last 20 years. You can see that all throughout the 2000s, prices were pretty stable. And then in 2021, everything went bananas. But of course, that's just the COVID pandemic messing everything up. Now that we're finally coming to the end of that, prices are going to stabilize again, right? Unfortunately, I don't think so. Lumber is a huge global industry. Wood is cut, processed, and shipped all over the world. This makes the lumber market sensitive to all kinds of pressure. With global supply chains barely functioning, tools, materials, and lumber itself can't get where it needs to go. Supplies are uncertain and demand is high. That's why a single 2x4 now costs $9 at my local Home Depot. These problems all feel temporary, but I don't think they are. You see, the problem isn't COVID. It's all the changes COVID kicked off. Americans are moving in large numbers, mostly from densely populated, high-cost states to places that are more rural and have fewer people. Most of these people have one thing in common. They want houses. New homes account for most of the demand that drives up lumber prices. And that's a problem because houses don't get built quickly, especially when there's a labor shortage. If we have a lot of pent-up demand in the housing market, it could take years for us to build enough homes to satisfy that demand. This means wood prices are going to stay high and stay volatile for a long time. Now I hear you saying, hold on, Rex, those lumber prices you're talking about, those are softwood prices. I build my projects out of hardwood, and I hear you, but those two markets are very closely connected. Sure, houses are framed with softwoods like spruce, pine, and fir. But the interiors consume a lot of hardwood. Trim, banisters, stair treads, cabinets, and especially floors are often made from hardwoods like oak. And when people buy new houses, they usually buy new furniture too. And that's all hardwood. The wood for your next project is probably going to be much more expensive than it was just a few years ago. I would love to say that wood is going to be our biggest problem, but I think we're in a whole new woodwork economy, and everything is going to be more expensive from here on out. When I first got started, everybody knew how to get going in woodworking. You'd go and buy old vintage tools from companies like Stanley and Sargent, fix them up, and get going. And these tools were affordable and fantastic. I am still using some of the vintage planes and saws that I bought 11 or 12 years ago. Back then, buying a plane like this for 10 or 15 bucks, that seemed too good to be true. And it wasn't, but it was too good to last. In the last decade, I've seen the prices of vintage tools explode. Hand tool woodworking is just a lot more popular than it used to be. And since woodwork educators like me cannot shut up about how much we love our vintage tools, demand is way up and prices have spiked. The bad news is that I think prices are going to go even higher. You've heard about this great resignation, right? Well, it's real, and lots of the people switching jobs are middle and upper income professionals. These people want flexibility, remote work, and the ability to work from home. And a lot of these people just bought new, larger houses in towns and cities with more space. So, what do middle-class people do when they have more time at home and more disposable income? They take up new hobbies, like woodworking. Over the next few years, we should expect big numbers of new people to enter the craft. And since hand tool woodworking is more popular than ever, the competition for vintage tools is only going to increase. But that's okay, right? Because inexpensive import tools just get better and cheaper all the time. Well, not really. For years, I've been recommending these Stanley planes as solid, relatively inexpensive beginner tools. I've never been in love with these planes, but they're well made, dependable, and pretty much work right out of the box. But remember that supply chain thing we were talking about before? Yeah, that's had a big impact on imports. These imported Stanley planes used to cost about $120 each, but recently they've gone way up and prices are getting close to $200. In my opinion, that's way too much for tools that are only okay to begin with. And the problem isn't just tools. Here's my favorite oil stone that I used to recommend because it worked and it was affordable. But look at what's happened to the price. That's way too much for a single stone. So wood, tools, and supplies are all going to be scarcer and more expensive. And this might not be temporary. This could be the new normal for our craft. So, do I have any good news? Of course I do. These changes aren't going to kill the craft, we just need to adapt. And I've got 3 concepts that are going to help you get through the new woodwork economy. I want you to think small, local, and high tech. These are the ideas that are going to help us deal with expensive materials or scarce tools. For instance, we all want to make big projects. We want to do dining room tables and bookcases, but now probably isn't the time for that because wood is too expensive. So now's the time to make small projects. Make a box, make some tools for the shop. I'm making this little shelf for my daughter right now. You can see there's basically no wood in it, and this is reclaimed wood anyway. And it's still letting me practice useful skills, joinery and cutting a curve and making a molding. These are all things I can take directly from this little project to the larger project when wood prices are a little better. And here's where volatility actually helps us a little bit, because right along with all those crazy spikes in the price of wood, there are also dips where things get cheaper. We just need to keep an eye on prices so we can figure out when to buy. And the internet makes it really easy to watch the commodity price of wood. Right this second, the price of lumber is down about 5% over the last week, so we might be heading toward a dip in price. It's too soon to say for sure, but this is a good time to pay attention. For tools and supplies, most of our problems come from imports, which means this is the perfect time to go local. That doesn't mean buying everything from your hometown. You just want to avoid products that have to cross an entire ocean to get to you. If these Stanley planes have gotten too expensive, we need to think about tools produced closer to home. I've always liked Veritas planes, but they were so much more expensive than the imports that I didn't recommend them. Of course, that's all changed now. The Stanley planes are currently going for about $180, while this Veritas low-angle smoother only costs $220 with free shipping. With only $40 difference in price, the Veritas suddenly looks like a pretty good deal. In the next couple of weeks, I'll have a full review of this plane with a beginning woodworker in mind. Is this premium plane really a good choice for your first plane? We'll find out. Now, Veritas planes are produced in Canada, so they're only local if you live in North America. But most places have some good domestic tool manufacturing. If you're in continental Europe, then Germany produces a bunch of good tools. ECE planes are high quality and surprisingly affordable. You can also check out the new Kunz Plus line of planes. I love my Kunz Smoother, and since it's made in Germany, it's easier for European buyers to find it. And if you live in Japan, China, Taiwan, or Thailand, you probably have excellent, affordable planes and saws being produced right where you live. I love these Chinese planes with the 2 handles, especially when paired with my low workbench. For aspiring woodworkers in many Asian countries, locally made tools have always been a good deal. And they still are. This channel focuses on traditional hand tool woodworking, but a lot of those traditional solutions aren't going to make sense anymore if they get too expensive. That's why we have to be open to new, high-tech solutions to our problems. Things like traditional oil stones are probably going to keep going up in price, and we're not going to see a lot of innovation from a product that somebody literally digs up out of the ground. This is where new and improving technology can help us out. While natural sharpening stones have only gone up in price, synthetic, oil, and water stones have gotten better and cheaper, year after year. These stones work, but for affordable sharpening, the real news is diamond stones. Just a few years ago, diamond stones were still pretty expensive, and the few low-cost options out there just weren't very good. But that's all changed now. I recently bought all 4 of these diamond plates for $20. Seriously, all 4 of them. For that price, they have to be garbage, right? Actually, no. I'm going to do a full review of these, but I can tell you that they work. A cheap set of stones like this might be just the thing for a brand new woodworker. And if high-tech solutions can help us with sharpening, we can probably look to improving technology to make other aspects of the craft cheaper and easier. I always listen to my viewers, and for the last year, people have been saying to me, Rex, high prices. We are getting killed by high prices. And I've been thinking, yeah, I know, but it's gonna blow over. Well, it's not blowing over. And it kind of seems like this is the way things are gonna be going forward. And that's not such a big deal. Woodworkers have been adapting to new prices, new conditions, new technologies for centuries. We can do it too, especially because we have advantages like the internet. We can share information. And over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to make some videos specifically about these problems. New tools, inexpensive techniques, and small projects that don't take up a ton of wood. Now, you might want to see some of these things early, and there are some easy ways to do that. You can sign up for Fabrication First. That's my email newsletter. It comes out on the first of each month, and it's just an article about woodworking. Very, very little marketing or advertising, just a piece of free content for people who want to be on my mailing list. And you can click the link down in the description and sign up for that. Of course, the easiest way to find out about everything early is to become a patron. My patrons get early access to all of my videos. They get behind the scenes sneak peeks. They get the Workbench session lecture series. They get free access to all of my plans. Oh, and there's a private discussion forum that's seriously the best woodworking forum on the internet. And you can become a patron for $5. We really think that's a lot of stuff for $5 a month, and we make it as value-packed as we possibly can, because patrons make everything possible. If you'd like to be one of them, go on over to patreon.com/Rex Krueger and check out all the rewards we have for the people who make this content possible. It's a new world, but I think we're all going to be fine. Courage.